Hello, welcome to Now Tell Us. This is where people come and tell us a story. They come and educate us on something or highlight a course that one has. At Now Tell Us, we are here to listen and we have interesting guests like our guest today. And I won't waste 1 minute because we have so much to share with this guest. So at this moment, let's welcome Vinnie Potestivo.
Thanks, Anthony. How are you, buddy?
I'm well. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. You put me
I
right
hope
right now. Tell us. I love the name of it.
Thank you. Yeah, it's Now Tell Us, and you come here to tell us. And we can start by
Uh-oh.
you telling us who is Vinnie Potestevo. And I hope I'm getting that right. But
Yeah, you nail it, by the way. It's perfect. Yeah, Potestivo. Yeah, it's exactly right.
yeah.
Who so tell I just get to tell you who I am. I just get to make it up. Like what?
Yeah,
you know,
anyhow.
as and that's and I want to start there that we all every single day when we're asked this question, if we're lucky enough,
Uh-huh.
that we get to decide who we are, and every single time we introduce ourselves. So I love this idea of now tell us, because if I told you yesterday, it would be different than who I, or last year it would be different than who I am this year.
Oh, that's
This
interesting.
yeah. This year I well, this actually I'll say this year I am an Emmy award-winning producer. Last
Mhm.
year I didn't win any Emmys yet, but now that changes my story. See,
Yeah.
and it's just one of the ways that helps people discover and make a connection. But I'm an Emmy award-winning producer, and I come from a talent development background. I was at MTV for a very long time in the late '90s and early 2000s, and I got to be a part of television and media being, just the boom of unscripted programming. And I helped artists, and I helped actors, and I helped just really important people take control over their narratives and change lives through reality TV and unscripted programming. And I'm doing the same thing now in podcasting. So I'm happy and lucky to be here.
That's beautiful, and we are happy to have you here because we are podcasting, and you're going to tell us a few things about podcasting, even as we
Sure.
face talent. But then I'm more curious to know who was Vinny Potestivo before he is. I mean, going back, where were you born? Did you grow there? Is that where you're still?
Yeah, that's funny. Well, I'm from Staten Island, so I'm from New York. I'm born and raised in New York City. I'm from Staten Island. I live in Brooklyn now, so I've been in New York my whole life. I'm the oldest of six now. There's I have one, two, three, four brothers and a sister, and I'm so thankful that I did, because my siblings have always been my muses. I've always created with my siblings in mind. It's what helped me in 1999 when I got to MTV. It's what helped me figure out how to create programming for people who were born in 84, 85, because I had siblings that told me, and I was never afraid to ask for help. Um, and I loved television. I love television, and I love technology. And I was born in the late '70s. My childhood was in the '80s. It was a very analog childhood, and then the '90s. In my teens, I did get to see what the internet was about, and did get to explore computers, and spent a lot of time at the computer club. I mean, in the computer centers and computer hubs, and I was juggling, acting, or what's it called, like acting club and computer club. I would juggle both.
Mhm.
Both parts of those were always sort of interesting to me. But I was lucky to work and find a way to work in TV during a time where media was being digitized. And if it wasn't for that skill, if it wasn't for my interest and ability to know how to digitize content from 1992 to 2000. By the way, that's a big. I mean, I'm the guy that, you would bring me all your pictures, and I would scan them in for you for your MySpace account, and then when you got your computer, I would upload all your CDs to your computer and rip all the music for
Mhm.
you. And I just sort of had that sort of tech savvy way about media, and ultimately I used it to help me connect with people, and that turned into an awesome casting job, and a job that I never thought I was going to be a casting director. I just knew I wanted to meet people and be surrounded by talent. Turns out casting is a good is a good way to get to meet talent and surround yourself with like the best of the best.
Yeah.
And I just always felt fish out of water. I always felt like I didn't belong. I always felt, I never knew anybody in the rooms that I was walking into. So I just genuinely had to be myself and be secure in that. And I'll say this also, I'm really lucky that I didn't know what I didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
If I knew to be imposter syndrome and I knew all these things, then maybe that would have creeped into my 20s. But that no one even taught me that word until I was in my 30s.
Yeah, and it's interesting. And at this point, if we have someone who's just jumped in and is found us talking about talent, maybe
Oh,
could
cool.
you basically define for us your the term talent on your from your perspective and what you do, the
Oh, I
talent.
love that. That's a great question because this definition of talent has changed over my career.
Yeah.
Initially, talent was creative talent. It was artistic creative talent. So when I got to MTV, I was casting. I put Beyonce in her. I was in the department that put Beyonce in her first film and brought Mandy Moore to MTV. I was working with people with phenomenal talent.
Mm-hmm.
And at first, that was musicians, actors. Then as I was working with more and more hosts, I started working with people, Canadians, where I was able to get them, visas based on their extraordinary talent. And
Mm-hmm.
that was hosting, but hosting on MTV was tapping into yourself. It was being a pure version of yourself, a transparent version of yourself, a authentic version of yourself. All of those words to me were talent. To me, that shifted, and I would say a 2000, it shifted talent. Transparency then was considered talent, and then I think in '05 with the iPhone and '07 with with Facebook and everything, opening up to the public, I think that talent turned into our special skills. So when I say talent development, I work in skill development. Um, I will make if you're really great at a skill, I know how to exemplify that and amplify that. Also, equally, if you're really bad at a skill, like you just might be really bad at something, but it might be really fun to watch you be really bad at something. And sometimes that for the sake of entertainment and exposure, that's an important act, so
Mm-hmm.
I like that part of talent development. And so to me, I define talent as skills, and skills can be you can be born with skills, and you can learn them as well. They can, they are innate and they are also academically learned. I think that's cool about what talent now becomes. And that's why I think my background in building celebrity brands and talent brands and just being in the room when certain decisions were made can help current CEOs, founder-led businesses, solopreneurs, podcasters, all of it can help them strengthen their personal brands. If you don't know, if your podcast isn't making money right now, chances are you haven't figured out how you want to be making money yet
Mm-hmm.
for the brand. It's not how can I do something for their brand, but it's like what's the act that you want to be doing that a
Mm-hmm.
brand can fit into. And some of that is talent development and creative development, which is the two worlds that I sort of straddle.
Mm. And I like how you define of how you've evolved over the time that you've been there. Now, I kind of imagine what an interesting time that we were born at the turn of the millennium, and then we were turning from being analog into digital, and so much has happened in the last 20, 30 years. So much, and it's good that you've experienced all that. So you've such a great experience, and that is what you are sharing with us right here. And I know it's going to be beneficial to someone who's listening. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Um, um, Now, talking of being discovered,
Yes.
uh, and in the talent in whatever area that someone is who's listening or watching us here, what are the ways that you can improve the chances of being discovered?
Of being discovered, right?
Yeah.
Well, look, first off, I want you to be aware that everyone is constantly seeking or working on getting discovered. The biggest celebrities, the largest influential political leaders of our time, the smallest voices, the largest voices, the most unique voices. Discovery is something that innately we are all always working for. It is
Mm-hmm.
the reason why certain celebrities apply for awards. It is the reason why we accept awards some celebrities choose not to accept certain awards, because we have a choice now in how we get and where we get discovered. It used to be gated by a bunch of casting directors like me who would
Mhm.
go around, and if you were in the right room at the right place at the right time, I would be able to see you, meet you, tell my producer contacts all about you. They would bring you in, and ultimately the producer is the person always making the decision. So back then, getting discovered for the sake of entertainment was sort of gate kept by the casting directors, but that was something that I love part of the responsibility of discovering talent and going out there and knowing that I'm the person who makes the room the right place, right time to be discovered.
Mhm.
What it's evolved into now because of social media is discovery or exposure. So exposure does not equate to discovery. Exposure is part of for me, exposure is part of my sort of like discovery algorithm, if I were to have one, so to speak.
Mhm.
Exposure is important. It's important to be seen and to be heard, and for my voice to be amplified, but that's not discovery. Discovery
Mhm.
is action.
Okay.
Discovery is the exposure times action. Is exposure, is being discovered, is being seen, and then being given the opportunity to take an action. And usually the most successful actions, especially across social media,
Mhm.
are share. You can
Mhm.
share my content. You can share my podcast episodes. You can share an experience, what it was like working with me.
Mhm.
We can share contacts. That's networking, right?
Yeah.
Sharing is without a doubt the highest value act that I can ask. Even if I'm trying to convert clients and I want you to call me so we can connect, before you call me, share my number. Share it first. Like, share is the most important thing I can ask.
Uh-huh.
Um, and then also making sure the net is right. I can't tell you how many times I've seen materials that were meant to be promotional that don't have a name and a phone number or an email address, and a way to follow up. That again is another way that I'm able to share in connecting with you and moving forward. That's an action that I can take. But you
Mm.
have to have that action piece in it. A lot of people are getting stuck in exposure thinking it's discovery, and they're saying, well, I do it every single week. I have I'm on Clubhouse every single week. I do my podcast every single week. I don't understand what's happening. Well, not only did you not ask them to do something, you didn't tell them what to do and how to do it. For example, I am excited. I am live streaming. I haven't live streamed ever to my YouTube. So I just got an email. I see it on my phone blowing up, Anthony. So I thank you for putting me on the spot here and making me be the best version of me by, trying something new, ultimately helping us get discovered in this moment too.
Mhm.
But I see a couple of people are asking questions. So one of the things I want to do as I'm being exposed here is give you an action, which is like share with me what your discovery challenges are. Like literally, I see in Facebook, it looks like is a great place to connect with you, to write questions that we can see. So in Facebook, if you're watching this right now in posts, please, or if you're watching this on YouTube, write your questions down in posts so we can answer them live, that we are here. That is an action that I would love to see happen. And I appreciate you all for watching. Like, you make this like a better place. So thank you.
Yeah, we have several people who are watching, and we thank them for being with us here. At this point, let me mention Mishka, who says that discovery becomes your own. Thank you very
Oh
much,
yeah.
Mishka, for that. And I hope
Oh, I
uh,
love that.
you
I
agree
love
to.
that. I
Uh-huh.
love that. I love that in the sense that discovery becomes your own terms. You have a lot of say and control over when and how and where your image is used, especially as a modern creator, and our ability to take images down and control them. And but so I love this idea. Discovery becomes your own. Also, the discovery becomes your own success model. You
Mhm.
you get to decide what discovery sort of looks like for you and how it translates. I think it's a great mindset to step into this game, so to
Mhm.
speak, with knowing that every action has a reaction, but if you can tell people what you like that reaction to be, that's the action that changes exposure into discovery.
Mm.
And by the way, for people who aren't necessarily, who don't identify as creatives, who might be watching this and are executives, to have a traditional job, they're working in marketing or advertising or creatively in a creative team or not, discovery for them looks like a departmental awards. Superlatives are a fun way to stand out. There are industry awards that happen outside of your business, as well as hopefully maybe interdepartmentally within your companies as well. So there are reasons to win awards and leverage those awards into people taking action, and that's the difference. You can win an award, that's exposure, but taking that award and doing something with it, asking people to take action with you, that's where
Mhm.
discovery comes into play.
And
And
it's
and
good that you mentioned awards. Maybe before you move into the next item, you can tell us how do we even start on that direction of going into awards and winning
oh
awards?
yeah, oh
How
gosh,
does that happen?
yes, this is a great question. So I mentioned earlier last year I wasn't an Emmy award winning
Yeah.
producer, but this year I am. You know why?
Why?
Because I did something different that I've never done before in my 25-year in television ever. I did
What's
one
that?
thing. I applied.
Yes.
It's crazy. I applied. No one's going around handing out Emmys and Oscars and Tonys and Grammys. You have to pay. You have to pay a
Exactly.
fee. You usually have to pay to usually have to qualify and then pay to be in the union or the academy or whatever they're calling it. And then there's an
Ah.
additional fee for every single project, every producer head that's on that project within that category.
Mm-hmm.
So let me answer the question this way. I think the reason why most people aren't winning awards is they aren't aware of what awards are out there to win. I put
Mm-hmm.
a list together of over like 75 digital awards. If you're a podcaster, if you are in advertising, if you're a marketer, if you send out newsletters, if you use stacks of technology to achieve goals in your own unique ways,
Mm-hmm.
there's this whole award called the Stackies, which I kind of love.
Mm-hmm.
Over my shoulder, I have a Communicator Award and a Telly Award and my Emmy Award here. All of them I applied for. I sought
Okay.
after them. I paid a fee, and I had to pick a category that I felt like I stood out in. Right? It wasn't just about getting a nomination. It was, what do I want to be nominated for?
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, if anyone is asking, Mishka, I see you here. If anyone, vpe.tv/hub, that will get you to my free creator hub. And in my creator hub, I have a list of all of the awards that I think people don't know about. I also have about 75 influencer and creator marketing platforms. If you're a podcaster and you're not making money and you say, but how do we make money? This is the first place where I would tell you to start.
Mm. Wonderful. And we thank you, each and every one of us who is interacting with us, and those who even get to listen to us after we are through. For those of you who may be hearing this for the first time, you can get past episodes and future episodes in on the podcast www.nowtellus.com. That's the website, rather. And
It's
all
a
the
good
other,
website, by the way.
yeah, thank you. And all the other podcast platforms, you can find this podcast and every other episode that we've done. And we keep going. Thank you very much.
Yeah, of course. Anthony, can I say something about awards? Because I feel like sometimes people, how do I say this? There's almost some shame. There's almost like ego, in an award. Like, who am I to ask for an award? Or do you think I would even win an award?
Mhm.
Or am I worthy of winning an award? Or who cares if I win an award? I can tell you I do. To all of those questions, the answer is me. So if you want to know if anyone in the world care, I promise you I care. Also, I promise you there are people in your world that care as well. Winning awards is not about that moment. Winning awards for me as a podcaster is about taking that data point and now being able to connect it to my IMDb account so my podcast stands out on IMDb. It's
Yeah.
about putting out a press release so that when people type in I have a podcast awards, I have a podcast award, that my podcast were to pop up because my name is I have a podcast and we won awards and I wanted to put out a newsletter. So I'm using it for discoverability and searchability.
Mm.
there's a lot of reasons to be winning awards. Many of them do not have anything to do with you. Also, even for most solo creators out there, there are a couple of people we end up working with, whether they're our editors or graphic editors. Maybe we don't see them, person to person, but there are other hands that touch our projects, and awards are a great way to identify and distinguish and sort of celebrate all that hard work too. So I really encourage people to go out there and apply for awards. And then again, there are awards that you have to pay for. There are also
Mhm,
free awards. So
mhm,
where you have literally nothing to lose other than possibly winning, and
mm.
then the loss of maybe time. But other than that, I believe in winning awards. I believe in
No, it's
celebrating the
good
big
that you put it.
wins.
It's good that you put us into that perspective that if there's an award out there, I'm the one to go after the award, and not wait for the award to come after me, or
Yeah,
maybe being nominated out of the blue. And
yeah.
also, the other perspective that you've made me see is that I need to be talking about my awards very much. Now, let's start here. Is this award of the best speech contest going to do any good to me?
Yes, are you absolutely? It's a different. I don't have one.
You don't
So
have
already. Oh
one?
no, 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 no. Mine are all in video. I excel when the video stuff happens. In terms of speaking, I rely a lot on video. So no, and I think that those awards, awards are signs of a time and place where you showed up,
Mhm.
where you really brought what needed to be brought, and then stayed long enough for the audience to find it and connect with you. And I think that it's how about this, in a sea of podcasters, if I needed to pick someone who was good at public speaking, having
Yeah.
an award for public speaking would certainly different, regardless of where it comes from. By the way, I don't care if it was the National Academy of Arts and Sciences, or if that's like from third grade. Either way, it's the heart, it's the person, it's that journey. It's if you won it once, we can win it again, and we can go bigger. And if you're okay to compete in smaller competitions, you're okay to compete in larger competitions. And also, we're not competing. This is all relative. It's
Yeah.
all subjective. there's that other piece to it too. I like the award piece. You know why I like the awards? Also, I think it's a nod to. It's not like you got it right, but it's a nod to knowing what the culture, the pop culture zeitgeist, what's happening in humanity. When you
Mm,
win awards, to me, it means that you're aware of larger conversations and where this fits in to all of that that's happening around us. And I like that about awards, because awards, generally speaking, are a group of people voting, and that's where you get sort of some community perspective.
oh, beautiful. Now, in passing, you've mentioned a few names that whom did he say?
Who?
Now, what are the? I know you've worked with some great talents out there. Can you just drop in some names and maybe
Drop some names.
one of your favorites or the
Oh,
big?
I mean, sure. My top two favorites. Well, no, I can't say two of my random favorite. I had
Mhm.
an awesome experience with Beyonce. I
Oh,
was young in my casting career at MTV.
mm,
MTV decided to remake Carmen, the classical opera. They
mm,
turned it into a hip opera, and I got to audition her. I got to actually like hold the camera and be in the room, and just to watch an artist go through that craft. An audition is just terribly vulnerable, and to have been in
yeah.
that room with her for those like 15 minutes is all it was. But I saw respect, I saw insecurity, I saw confidence, I saw so much happen. But what I loved most about that experience was when Beyonce got cast in that role and she went on to film, she learned the art of character development. And on set in that film is where she created the character Sasha Fierce, which is like her onstage persona. So I
Mhm,
thought it was sort of cool that, like, I take zero credit for any of her greatness, but I got to open a door for her, that where somebody on the other side taught her this awesome skill of character development, of knowing who we're capable of, what our possibilities are, what our promise is filled of, how we can step into that and step out of it. with
Mm-hmm.
grace. And I
Mm.
love that. I love that she sort of experienced that, at MTV early on. And then also Mandy Moore, working with Mandy Moore. I got to work with her as a 14, 15, 16-year-old. And like literally when I tell you, part of the secret to my success of working at MTV was my siblings. I treated Mandy like my sister, and to be honest, so much so that like when she won an MTV Movie Award for acting, they wouldn't tell me because they thought I would go tell her. And
Mm-hmm.
I was like, of course I'm going to tell her if she won. I don't want her to be surprised. Surprises weren't always cute, on TV. It's not always even Punked, the very first episode of Punked, everyone talks about Justin Timberlake. Ashton Kutcher made Justin sort of cry in the first episode of Punked, but Mandy was also in that episode.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't tell me about the development of that show at that point because they didn't want me to tell her. But
Okay.
I got to work with people, at the beginning of their career. Kelly Osbourne at the beginning of her career, Sharon Osbourne. Well, not at the beginning of Sharon's, but at the rebirth of her
Mm-hmm.
career, Jessica Simpson. And it was a really cool. It's really cool because those were creators. Those were people who were making content that no one asked for that they would put out, just like you and I do now.
Yeah.
So I do what I do in confidence because I've seen what they do, and I know that my stage, the eyeballs on me, and my guarantee for success is nowhere close to how much it has to be when you're spending millions and billions.
Mm.
But the impact is as big. I love that part of it.
Yeah, the impact, and that's important. The impact and the influence that uh,
Yeah.
you make out there. Like Mishka says now, she's an influencer. She quit her
Yes.
to be an influencer. So
Every action has a reaction. Yes, we are all influencing each other. We're all
mm,
cooperating, whether it's in doing it peacefully or not peacefully. Either way, there is, but that influence that's out there.
yeah, and then there's something else that you mentioned also in passing, and you talked about mm, cling cling, making some money
Money.
out of your brand, out of
Yeah.
what you do. I mean, you're like now, you, Vinny, you're there with your podcast, or you are there and you're doing something on your social media. How do you turn that into cash? How do you turn that into a livelihood?
Yeah.
There's
I
someone
look.
out there who's wondering.
There's so many different paths. I
Okay.
can tell you my path. My path is, so my podcast is called I Have a Podcast,
Mm-hmm.
and I create episodes pulled from conversations that I have with friends that I've worked with in the past. I've impacted their careers or they've impacted mine. So first I have those conversations. No one pays me for those. Those are mine. I own them. They're 100% me. No one gets to tell me what to do with it. It's only mine. Then I take some of those and I turn those into video podcasts and audio podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
So I create like a 15-minute segment in it. And in that segment, I have a couple of ads that will run. I'm a really big fan of helping people get connected on. I love networking. It's always been my favorite part of casting.
Yeah.
Right now, the easiest way to meet podcasters right now for me has been through Podmatch. I have
Mm.
almost 100 podcast episodes that I've secured in the last 2 months. I've never had a bad experience. I almost never have anyone miss a recording. When I send a message, they respond back to me. Like there are other platforms that are out there that are podcast matchmaking, but nothing come close to Podmatch.
I
So
love
if
it too. I
yeah,
do.
right. So
Yeah.
I'll say, so go to vpe.tv/podmatch if you want to check out what I'm talking about. By the way, I think they even if we get matched in Podmatch, and like you're paying there's a $39 ticket like price that you pay for premium. If you're
Yeah.
paying that, I think you get paid $19 or $20. You get paid to interview
Oh,
me.
oh yeah, yeah. I get paid to interview you, so that's one of
That's
the ways.
awesome. That's like a win. You know what I mean? So
Uh-huh.
that's one way, by the way, where we could be making money. Also, I did just tell everybody to go to vpe.tv/podmatch. That's
Mm-hmm.
my affiliate link. So if you use that link, then you would specifically be paying me. So make sure you find Anthony. Anthony, are you signed up with
I'm
affiliate?
signed up. I'm
Okay,
signed up.
so go get Anthony's affiliate link and then use his affiliate link. But there's just affiliate links are one way, of
Mm-hmm.
doing it. The thing I like about affiliate links is that I don't have too many of them. I
Yeah.
have a handful that I use that I really love, that I use constantly and consistently myself, and it
Mm-hmm.
keeps me on point. I remember that I want to talk about it. I know that I can talk about it in depth. And I know there are other options that are out there, but again, sticking to this one topic for me
Yeah.
makes sense for me. I'm not stretching I'm not flexing or stretching my, credibility. I'm sticking to what I know. I
Mm,
speak more from experience. Um, and that also is like my SEO strategy too.
mm,
Inspire, impact, and ignite. You'll hear me say these words over and over again. Those are big SEO words for me, but also those are big life words for me. So I use them in my life so that they're baked into my SEO and my content.
good.
So affiliates are one way, but so specifically about me, about how our podcast is making money.
Yeah.
Also, as I said, I do take video podcasts and I turn them into segments that I have an affiliate relationship with a network called Bespoke TV.
Hmm.
Bespoke TV is a digital platform. It's programmatic. Cox Comcast. You set your TV DVRs and lock in the time, and then it's also distributed on AVOD platforms as well. So there's some distribution that happens there. And then I created ihaveapodcast.com.
Hmm.
Ihaveapodcast.com is a place for me to discover independent podcasters and independent podcast news. So I took my podcast, I Have a Podcast, and I created ihaveapodcast.com, which I
Yeah.
have affiliate banners on and advertising on. I put a form there when I meet people that I'd love to give like a featured article to. I have them fill out the form. We publish the form. It's a very low lift for me, but I have a
Hmm.
lot of great contributors that are feeding the funnel. So I've built a tool that has inbound talent coming to me. So every month I get about 50 people that are being pitched to me to fill out the form. So I have a
Okay.
consistent amount of content being published.
Hmm.
And that's what's feeding my social media. That's what's feeding most of my social media on Twitter right now, to be really honest. And any of the text, Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn business on the business pages, not
Yeah.
on my personal side on LinkedIn. So I've been able to turn it into, a platform. I called my podcast I Have a Podcast because I felt like people who have a podcast like you, Anthony, you would relate. You'd be like, oh yeah, me too. I have a podcast.
I have a podcast.
I
Yeah.
I like people like Mishka, like people who listen to podcasts, who have a favorite podcast. I
Hmm.
want them to be like, oh, I have a podcast. And you got to listen to Anthony's podcast. It is the best podcast I have. So that was my idea for it. So I have a couple of social groups called I Have a Podcast, where it's just it's a community of people that are sharing information, not pods or anything like that, but just sharing no episodes, but just sharing real-time news and stuff. So it's been a unique and interesting journey, but from doing all of that, I've been, I get reached out to by brands on LinkedIn, and I don't necessarily think I have like a very the largest audience at all. Certainly a growing audience, which is exciting.
Yeah.
But in the small amount of space and time that I've been able to make an impact on LinkedIn, I've had a couple of brands reach out to me directly saying, hey, I saw your live audio, I saw your live stream, or I saw your podcast episode with so and so. Here's what our goals are. How could we work together? So I think that part of the reason why I'm getting that information, especially on LinkedIn, is because I tell people what I do. Like my podcast is called I Have a Podcast. It's pretty clunky. It's pretty
Hmm.
not so creative, but it is what it it is what it is. That's what I
Please,
mean.
what
That's what
it
I
is.
wanted it to be. I
Yeah.
wanted it to be it is what it is. I could have almost named it that. It is what it is.
Mm.
I have a podcast. It is what it is. That's actually would have been really funny. I'll have to see if someone
Mhm.
has that.
Yeah, beautiful. So it's been a pleasure having you here. Thank you very much for everything
Yeah,
that you
Anthony.
shared. And I think we are almost coming to the end of this show. Now, I know we haven't covered everything that we could have covered. And that's why we are reminding you, each and every one of you, to go to www.vpe.tv, and you'll find much more than what Vinny has been kind enough to share with us here. So don't hesitate. Go to that website. All the strokes he's been mentioning, you'll find them there. All the forward slash Podmatch or the hub, you'll find them there. Just go there. Don't hesitate. Go, rush, go. Yes. So this is just about it for today. But before we go, we always ask our guests to leave us with a few words that we will always remember. And this is your opportunity, Vinny.
Oh yeah, no pressure. how about a few words, or just, create with confidence. Be aware that everyone is looking to be discovered. It's always best if you can collaborate. So create in confidence, create with collaboration in mind, create with cooperation in mind. Create with, instead of being afraid of repurposing content, step into pre-purposing content. Knowing that you have to promote content, knowing that you're going to have to put a social media post out there to talk about something. Think about how you can create, how you can document the journey, or how you can let people in on the journey, instead of waiting at the end to say, hey, now watch new episode, watch live. That. So just create with purpose, create with curiosity, create with strength, create. How about that? That's the message. Create, please. Own it.
Thank you.
Create it, because a long time ago you used to not be able to own the stuff you create. Now intellectual property is pretty much yours out of the gate if you're creating it. So create.
Wow, wonderful. Create, just create. And I can tell that you love letter C, even if you don't have to tell us.
Yeah, I do like the letter C.
Create with confidence, create with cooperation.
Co-
Everything is
yes.
C, C,
Also
C.
the IMs: impact,
Mm.
ignite, inspire.
Oh,
Whoa.
yeah, that's it. So beautiful. Thank you very much. And we really appreciate this. Has been a great episode together with Vinny. And I've been your host, Anthony Morore. And now, without taking one more minute, we are wishing you all the best as you go to create. And together, we are saying bye. Bye bye.